Working the night shift in a morgue teaches you one rule. Every body has a name, but one night, the name kept changing. Caleb had worked the night shift at the county morgue in Ohio for 6 years. Long enough for silence to stop feeling like silence. It wasn't quiet down there. It was layered. The steady mechanical hum of refrigeration units, the soft tick of old pipes expanding and settling, the distant echo of gurney wheels from the ER above, bleeding faintly through the floors. He used to hear things in that noise, not voices, never anything that obvious, just almost patterns, sounds that felt like they were trying to become something else. That stopped around year 2. Now everything was simple, cold, ordered, predictable. Every body had a toe tag, every tag had a name, and every name stayed where it was supposed to. That's why this bothered him. At 2:17 a.m., the call came down from the ER. Male, mid-40s, highway accident, no ID, routine. Caleb signed the intake sheet, guided the gurney into position, and pulled the drawer open with the same practiced motion he'd done thousands of times. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered once, normal for this place, and then steadied. He transferred the body, logged it, printed the tag, John Doe, male, approx. 45. Time of intake, 2:17. He secured it to the ankle, double-checked the attachment, closed the drawer, done. By 3:26 a.m., Caleb was back to finish the documentation. He pulled the drawer open, already mentally moving through the checklist. That's when he saw it, the tag. He leaned in slightly, eyes narrowing. The printed text wasn't what he'd written. Daniel Harper. Caleb stared at it for a long moment, waiting for his brain to correct itself. It didn't. Okay. He reached down, turned the tag over, checked the clasp. Same tag, same placement, just wrong name. He walked back to the computer station, fingers moving faster now. Search, Daniel Harper. No current intake. No active case. Nothing from tonight. Misprint, he muttered. Has to be. The printer had been acting up last week. He deleted the record, re-entered everything carefully, and printed a new tag. Fresh paper, clean ink, John Doe. He went back, swapped it out, tugged it once to make sure it held, closed the drawer. He took a coffee break he didn't need. At 3:58 a.m. he returned. He didn't rush this time, didn't open the drawer immediately. Instead, he stood there for a few seconds, staring at the handle. Waiting. For what, he didn't know. Then he pulled it open, slowly. The tag hung exactly where he'd left it, still, unmoved. But the name, Daniel Harper. Caleb didn't touch it, didn't reach for it, just stood there, the cold air from the drawer spilling over his hands. Not funny, he said quietly. The words sounded small in the room. There was no one else on shift, no one who could have come down unnoticed. No reason, no mechanism for this to be happening. Protocol. Stick to protocol. He stepped back to the computer again. This time he searched archived records, and that's when it hit. Daniel Harper, admitted 3 years ago, cause, cardiac arrest. Caleb's throat tightened. He remembered. Everyone who worked nights back then remembered. Harper had been pronounced dead upstairs. Sent down, tagged, logged, placed right where Caleb was standing now. And then he woke up. On the table. No heartbeat on record, no respiration, nothing. Until suddenly everything. They called it a Lazarus event. Rare, unpredictable, explainable, technically. Harper had survived for 2 days, then he died in ICU. For real this time. Caleb turned slowly back toward the drawer. The body inside wasn't Harper. Different build, different face, different everything. But the tag, Daniel Harper. The fluorescent light above him flickered again, longer this time. Caleb felt something shift. Not in the room, but in his certainty. That solid, structured belief he'd built over 6 years. Order, labels, systems, things staying where they belong. For the first time, it didn't feel stable. It felt thin. He didn't sleep after his shift, didn't even try. Just sat in his apartment with the lights on, the hum of his refrigerator sounding too much like the one at work. At 9:42 a.m. his phone rang, county line. He answered immediately. Caleb, the detective said. We ID'd your John Doe. His grip tightened around the phone. Yeah? Wallet turned up near the crash site, must have been thrown clear. A pause, paper shuffling. Then, name's Daniel Harper. Caleb didn't respond, couldn't. The detective kept talking, details, confirmations, next steps, but the words blurred together, because Caleb was already thinking about something else, something he hadn't checked, something he suddenly didn't want to. The toe tag. When he got back that night, he went straight to the drawer. Didn't clock in, didn't check the system. Just walked in and pulled it open. The tag was still there, still attached, still, but underneath it, faint, like ink that hadn't fully decided to exist yet. A second line was forming, letters bleeding slowly into the paper. Caleb leaned closer, breath shallow, watching, waiting. As the name began to take shape, Caleb M. Ryers. Hello, and thank you for being here. We want you to know that Bone Chilling Nightmare is completely free from ads. No interruptions, no distractions, just pure immersive storytelling. But creating these experiences comes at a cost. Every video is built from hours of research, writing, and production, all done with care to bring you stories that truly stay with you. Without ad revenue, the channel depends entirely on the support of viewers like you. If our stories have ever captured your imagination or given you that unforgettable chill, we invite you to support us. Whether it's $3 or $500, your contribution directly helps us continue creating and growing this community. Don't just watch from the shadows. Be part of what keeps Bone Chilling Nightmare alive. Thank you so much for checking out the link in the video description below to support and keep this creepy community thriving. Thank you again for your support. Maya worked intake at a hospital morgue just outside Denver. She wasn't like the others. Some of the staff kept things clinical, efficient, detached. Names became case numbers, faces blurred into routine. But not for Maya. She believed the last moments mattered, even if no one else saw them. Last stop, she would whisper sometimes, soft enough that it barely carried past her own breath as she zipped up a body bag or adjusted a sheet. Not out of superstition, out of respect. Winter made the job quieter, fewer late-night transfers, fewer accidents, at least most nights. But the cold had a way of settling into the building itself. The walls felt heavier, the air sharper. On that night, the call came in just after midnight. Female, teenager, car accident, no family notified yet. Maya prepared the intake station automatically. Clipboard ready, tags printed, stainless table wiped down until it reflected the overhead light in a dull, sterile glow. When they wheeled her in, Maya felt it immediately. Not fear, something else, stillness. The girl looked untouched. There were no visible injuries on her face, no strain, no distortion, no trace of whatever had happened out on the road. Just calm, too calm. Maya had seen peaceful before. This wasn't that. This felt placed, arranged, like someone had smoothed everything over after the fact. She hesitated for a moment longer than usual, then stepped closer. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, as she always did. Her voice barely disturbed the air. And then, the eyelid twitched. Maya froze, not a full movement, not even enough to call it definite, just the smallest flicker, like a muscle misfiring beneath the skin. She leaned in, closer, watching, nothing. The face was still again, perfectly still. Maya let out a slow breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Just nerves," she whispered. Post-mortem activity, residual signals. She knew this. She'd been trained for it, seen it before, but never like that. She turned away to grab the intake forms. A soft sound followed her, not loud, not sharp, just a shift, fabric against metal. Maya turned back immediately. The girl was lying exactly as before, flat, arms at her sides, eyes closed, but the sheet had moved, just enough that one shoulder was now slightly exposed. Maya stared at it. Her brain tried to fill in explanations, air currents, improper draping, her own memory playing tricks. "Okay, no," she muttered under her breath, gripping the clipboard tighter than necessary. She stepped forward, adjusted the sheet again, carefully, deliberately, and smoothed it down. Then she finished the intake faster than she ever had. No extra words this time, no last stop, just procedure. She left the room, and for the first time since starting this job, she didn't look back. An hour later, paperwork forced her return. Maya paused at the door before entering, listening. Nothing, just the low, constant hum of refrigeration. She pushed the door open. Immediately, she felt it. Colder. Not just the temperature, the kind of cold, the kind that didn't sit on your skin, the kind that seemed to notice you. Her eyes moved to the table, and her breath caught. The girl was sitting up, not fully, not like someone waking, more like interrupted. Her upper body was raised slightly from the table, head tilted forward just enough to suggest attention, as if she had been in the middle of something and stopped. Maya dropped the paperwork. It scattered across the floor, the sound too loud in the room. "Hey, hey," she shouted, her voice cracking. "This isn't funny." No response, no movement, nothing changed. Slowly, against every instinct screaming at her not to, Maya stepped closer. Each step felt deliberate, heavy, measured. The girl's eyes were still closed, her face still calm. Her body, rigid, completely unresponsive, but undeniably not where Maya had left it. Security was called, cameras were checked, footage reviewed. Nothing, no one entered, no one left. No movement on the table, no shift in the sheet, no moment where the body changed position, just stillness. Continuous, unbroken. The explanation came quickly. Post-mortem muscle contraction, clinical, clean, safe. Maya nodded when they told her, even repeated it back. Right, muscle contraction. She signed the incident note, filed the report, followed every step, but she requested a transfer the next morning. No argument, no elaboration. Just, I won't work that room again. As she was leaving that night, she passed the doorway one last time. She told herself she wouldn't look, that there was nothing to see, that everything had already been explained. Her hand tightened slightly on the strap of her bag, and then she looked. The girl was lying flat again, exactly as before, sheet perfectly arranged, face peaceful, unchanged. Maya exhaled, a shaky, almost laugh escaping her. "See," she whispered to herself, "nothing." She turned to leave, took one step. Then, something pulled her attention back. Not a sound, not movement, just the feeling of being noticed. Maya glanced over her shoulder. The girl's head had tilted, just slightly. Not enough to be obvious, not enough to prove, but enough. Enough that her face was now angled toward the door, toward Maya, as if she had been listening, waiting for the quiet ones to speak. Ethan worked nights at a small-town morgue in upstate New York. It was the kind of place where nothing unusual ever happened. No high-profile cases, no violent crime spikes, just quiet endings. People who passed in their sleep. People who had lived long enough for death to feel expected. Ethan liked it that way. Predictable. Manageable. Walter Briggs came in just after 7:40 p.m., male, late 70s, found at home, natural causes, peaceful. Even the EMTs had said it, looked like he just drifted off. Ethan processed him the same way he processed everyone. Logged the intake, checked for identification, cataloged personal belongings, wallet, keys, a folded handkerchief, and a flip phone. It felt out of place immediately. Not because it was old, but because it was used. Scratches along the edges, worn buttons, a faint smudge on the screen like it had been handled often recently. Ethan turned it over in his hand. Still powered on, battery low but holding. He flipped it open, the screen glowed faintly, no wallpaper, no messages, just a single contact. Home, Ethan frowned. That's it? No family numbers, no saved names, nothing else, just one word. Procedure said to attempt next of kin identification. This counted. He pressed the call button, held the phone to his ear. It rang, once, twice, 3 times. A second sound answered, not through the speaker, not delayed, not echoed, immediate, real, a vibration. Ethan slowly lowered the phone from his ear. The ringing continued, but now he could hear it clearly, not from the device in his hand, from somewhere else in the room. He didn't move at first, just listened. The sound was faint but distinct, a cheap vibration against metal, intermittent, close, too close. Ethan turned his head. His eyes landed on the row of drawers behind him. The sound pulsed again, short, mechanical, unmistakable. Drawer 3. He let out a quiet, nervous breath. Okay. That's weird. He told himself there was a simple explanation. Another phone, a misplaced item, something overlooked during intake. That was all. It had to be. He walked over, each step slower than the last. The ringing continued, steady, patient. Ethan gripped the handle of drawer 3, paused, then pulled. Walter Briggs lay exactly as he had left him, still, composed, peaceful. The ringing stopped. The silence that followed felt heavier than before. Ethan swallowed, stepped closer. Eyes scanning the body, looking for there. A slight bulge in the breast pocket of the man's shirt. Ethan reached forward, hesitated, then carefully slipped his fingers into the pocket and pulled it out. Another flip phone, identical, same model, same worn edges, same faint scratches across the casing. Even the hinge had the same slight looseness. Ethan stared at it, then slowly looked back at the phone in his other hand. 2 phones, no difference, no variation. just duplicates. He checked the one he'd used to call. The screen was back to idle, no call duration, no outgoing record, nothing. He flipped open the second phone, checked the call log, no missed calls, no incoming activity, no indication it had rung at all. The room felt colder, not dramatically, just enough to notice. "All right," Ethan whispered. "Nope." He placed the second phone back into the pocket, closed the drawer, firmly, finished the rest of his shift on autopilot, didn't mention it. Didn't log it, didn't try to explain it. The next morning, Walter Briggs' daughter came in, mid-40s, tired eyes, polite, the kind of quiet grief that doesn't ask for attention. Ethan guided her through the paperwork, sign here, initial here, standard process. She paused at one line, gave a small, almost apologetic smile. "You know," she said softly, "my dad had this habit." Ethan looked up. He used to call himself every night. Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. "Call himself?" She nodded. He had 2 phones, same number saved as home. A small breath escaped her halfway between a laugh and something else. "After my mom died, the house got too quiet." Ethan didn't speak, didn't move. He said hearing it ring made it feel like someone was still there, she continued, like the house wasn't completely empty. She looked down at the paperwork, then added, "Toward the end, he used to say one day he hoped someone would answer." Silence settled between them, thick, uncomfortable. Ethan finished the process, handed her the documents, watched her leave. Hours later, he went back to the storage locker. He didn't rush, didn't hesitate either, just walked in, opened it, looked inside. The belongings tray sat where it should. Wallet, keys, handkerchief, 1 phone. Ethan stood there for a long time. Long enough for the silence to feel familiar again. Then, from somewhere deep in the room, a faint vibration. Ethan didn't turn this time, didn't check, didn't move at all, because now he understood something he hadn't before. The call hadn't been a mistake. It had connected. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I truly appreciate your time and presence, and thank you for your support and contributions. It means more than you know and helps keep Bone-Chilling Nightmare alive and growing. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next story.